nothing better than watching you smile. You laugh out loud, my baby. Ain't nothing better than watching you be you. Ain't nothing better than right now. In your eyes lie the secrets I don't wanna miss. Put your hand in my hand.
Hey YouTube, well, as you can see, I am home, and today's Friday, so I went in the hospital on Sunday night at about 9:30 in the evening, and all day that day I had been feeling a bit off, and I had a lot of pressure feeling in my bottom half, and just, would feel off, have these little bouts of not feeling well throughout the whole day. And then by about 6 o'clock in the evening I started feeling like I was having contractions, but they weren't painful, they were just very tight in my belly. But with each one I had this really, really intense feeling of having to poop and pee and everything at the same time. So I hummed and hawed and pondered and everything like that for a good while. I went to my mom's and I asked her what she thought. I called my sister-in-law and asked her what she thought, and everyone kept saying, "Oh, it doesn't sound like anything really. Just take it easy. You probably just did a little too much today." Which, I mean, the 3 days before that even, I had done a lot. I'd done a lot of walking and going places and doing stuff. So I said, okay, well maybe it's true. Maybe she's just low. And the thing that made me think that something was happening though is the night before I lost my mucus plug. And I know that with me anyway, when my body releases that mucus plug, labor is very, very, very soon, like days or hours away. My body doesn't release it unless I'm in labor. So I figured, you know what, I'm gonna call triage and see what they have to say. So I called triage and told her what I was feeling, and the nurse said, maybe we should just have you come in, just even if it's nothing, just because you are scheduled to have a C-section. You don't want to be going into labor waiting. If you are, if you have this, if you actually are going into labor, you don't want to have it go into full active labor, because there's always a chance that you could get bumped and be waiting quite a while if you are actually indeed in labor. So I went in, called my midwife, and she agreed, and so she said that she would wait for my call and or the hospital call, and that we'd make some decisions there. I went to the hospital myself, just by myself. Dean stayed home with the kids, because that was another thing that we had said, what's the point of getting the kids all ready and dressed late at night like it was. It was 9 o'clock at night, if it's nothing, and they send me home. So I said, you stay home with the kids. We'll make phone calls to who we need to make phone calls to and have them on standby. But it didn't make sense for Dean to leave Dean to get us to get the kids out of bed and everything else, because Ella was already asleep by this time, and you know. Anyway, got to the hospital. They hooked me up to the monitors, and sure enough, I was contracting every 6 minutes. And she's like, "Oh, wow. So I think you are having your baby tonight." So the obstetrician came and checked me, and he said, "Well, your cervix is still closed, but you are contracting, and that's making me feel a little uneasy. These contractions are very regular, too regular to be Braxton Hicks, and they're too strong to be Braxton Hicks contractions." Even though I really wasn't feeling them in my belly, I told him, I said, "Well, I'm not feeling them in my belly, I'm feeling them in my gut, or in my lower, in my pelvis and my bum." And he said, "That's because the baby's head is very low." So he's like, I could feel the baby's head when I checked you, even though that your cervix is closed, but you are facing. So anyway, what happened next? Sorry, it gets to be a bit of a blur at this point because everything started happening. So the nurses came in, they started prepping me in terms of, like, not really prepping me for surgery, but getting the consent paperwork, because it was a different obstetrician than originally planned that performed my C-section. He is actually an associate of the doctor who was originally set to perform the C-section, but because it was a different doctor, I had to do all new consent forms for his reasons. So that was fine. I mean, I was fine with that. And we had to, you know, do the belly wash, and they had to write on my stomach TL, abbreviating tubal ligation, because I had my tubes tied. We'll get on that subject later on in this. I'm gonna have to make this quick. She's getting hungry, I think. Okay, so yes, prepping me for surgery, getting the C-section and everything. They had gotten me a room, but they had decided to keep me in triage until I was going to go into surgery. I don't remember why. I think it was because I remember now. They didn't have enough nurses on the ward at that time, because there was too many in labor at the time in my pod, and because I was a scheduled C-section and contracting, there had to be someone monitoring continuous monitoring to be sure that, you know, my uterus was taking it and the baby was taking it well. So that's why they had me in triage. So they had told me that they had, you know, the C-section was going to be at about 2 a.m. because I had eaten at 6 o'clock that night. Even though it was a very small amount I ate, they still, you know, had to take precautionary measures and not let me, because they don't want you to throw up while you're on the table and aspirate any of the vomit, right? So I had to wait, and so 1 o'clock, 1:30 rolls along, and doctor comes in and says, "I'm so sorry, you've been bumped. We have an emergency. Come in, and you're still doing relatively well. You're not, you know, your contraction pattern hasn't changed, so you're still considered low risk, but we do have a more emergent case on our hands at the moment. So I got bumped. So in that time they decided to move me to my room because I think whatever happened, the person was able to, there was a nurse that was able to take over. So from walking to triage to my room, that set my labor into high gear. I got into my room, sat on the bed, and I had a contraction. I was like, oh wow, this one actually hurt. This is the first one I felt that has hurt in my belly. And the nurse was like, oh really? And I said, yeah. So she, hooked the monitors up to my belly and looked at them, watched the contraction pattern, and they had dropped from being 6 minutes apart to 4 minutes apart. And they were definitely stronger. You could see that on the waves. And she says, have they been like this the whole evening? And I said, no, they were 6 minutes apart, like 5 minutes ago, literally. Like from walking from triage to here. She's like, oh wow. So at this point, Dean finally got to the hospital because we had to wait for the people that were coming to look after the kids to come over because they had to stay the night, of course, so they had to get their stuff and gear and make their own arrangements and everything. And so Dean got to the hospital and it was fine. Anyway. Where were we? Okay, so yeah, contractions started getting stronger, and it was getting to the point where I couldn't handle just breathing through them anymore. So I asked for the gas, nitrous oxide gas and air, and yeah, I labored like that until 4 a.m. And at 4 a.m. my contractions had gone from being 4 minutes apart to 2 minutes apart, and I had dilated to 5 centimeters. So it was a good thing that I went into the hospital. Anyway, so yeah, got into the OR, and little Abigail came into the world. I'll show her to you all. Oh. Here she is. Say hi. She's got a nice full head of dark hair, like her sister. This is what her sister looks like. She looks so much like Ella did when she was born. Say hi. She weighed 6 pounds, 6 ounces. Was 18.5 inches long. And yeah, just my tiny little girl. So yeah, we're all doing great. My recovery has been going really well, and breastfeeding has done really well, and yeah, the kids absolutely love her, and we're all good. So I'm gonna say bye for now. Please forgive me if I don't make another video soon, but mommy of 3, I'm a little busy and breastfeeding every 3 hours, and day and night every 3 hours. So yeah. We're pretty happy over here. And I think it's getting to be about that time where little miss here is wanting to eat. So, have a good day. Bye, YouTube.